As of 2020, Tempranillo was the third most planted grape variety in the world. Most of that lies in the Iberian Peninsula, namely Spain and Portugal. Spain, it goes by a myriad of names: Tempranillo, Tinto Fino, Tinta de Toro. In Portugal, it's known as Tinto Roriz or Oreganes. The best examples, especially in Spain, are not labeled Tempranillo. The best regions for Tempranillo-based wines are Rioja, Ribera del Duero, and Toro. In Rioja, it's blended with Graciano, Mazuelo, which is also known as Caranan and sometimes Garnacha. Although most of the wines are based on Tempranillo, it's usually aged a little bit longer in Rioja. In Ribera del Duero, it's known as Tinta Fino. It can be blended with Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon. Some of the most expensive, some of the most well-known wineries in Spain, namely Vega, Sicilia, are from Ribera del Duero. Those wines tend to be a little bit bigger. Riojas tend to be a little more delicate. Going right down the river from Ribera del Duero is Toro. There's a lot of 100-year-old bush vines. Less heralded region, that's where you can find value. The wines are pretty big there as well. In Rioja, Ribera del Duero, and Toro, you'll see the wines labeled as Crianza, Reserva, or Gran Reserva. Crianza, it means age. Reserva is a little more aged. Gran Reserva is really aged. Tempranillo takes to oak really well. It's a grape that's concentrated. It's not too early ripening, yet not too late ripening. The WSET manual says it's more of a winemaker's grape because of the great balance. It's got great acidity, great tannins, great color. It can take oak aging well. However, when I go to Portugal, often a lot of the producers say that Tempranillo, Tinta Roriz, or Oreganes are one of the more difficult grapes in the region. So maybe it's just Spain is the terroir for it. I found that examples, especially from Ribera del Duero and Toro, really can resemble Cabernet Sauvignon, especially Napa Cabernet Sauvignon, but we're going to look at it here today. I have 6 wines, 2 from Toro, 2 from Ribera del Duero, and 2 from Rioja. These are all more premium wines, so they're a little bit more expensive. Some of them have a little bit of age on them, so that's going to mix me up. Let's see if we can find some excellent values here. Okay, as always, I Coravin these and had somebody mix them up for me. Got my nice little glass. I have a link for this glass in the description box if you want to check it out. All right, let's start out with wine number 1, Tempranillo's. No shortage of color here. This does really, it's a big wine, really does to me resemble like a Napa CAB style wine. Cassis black cherry, like lots of tobacco mocha. There is wood, but it's not too much. Real pretty, some violet type notes. Really, just it smells big. This to me really resembles Cabernet Sauvignon, especially high-end Cabernet. Big, tannic. There's just a slight bit of greenness at the back end, but not too much. Got bright acidity, still full of cassis black cherry flavors. Number 1, for fans of big red wines, you're going to feel right at home. Pretty darn good wine. Let's move on to 2. 2 has a little more VA, so I think it has a little bit more age on it. It's a little bit more delicate. There are some red plums, blackcurrant type flavors. Mocha, there was a little more complexity in 1. 2 is still good. Oh, hold on a second. That's why you gotta shake it out. The VA gives way. It becomes actually a tad spicy, which I like. Tempranillo can be spicy. Oh, it has this spike in the mid palate, kind of like Cabernet Sauvignon. That's why a lot of people enjoy it. On the palate, this is a little more delicate. I like this a lot. There's a big spike of intensity and flavor. The nose is maybe a little more explosive in 1. My preference is for 2, although I think 1 will be scored higher among consumers. So I think a lot of people will like 1. 2 has a little more delicacy. I think 1 and 2 are definitely Ribera del Duero's or Toro's. I don't think they're Rioja. Rioja has a very distinctive flavor. Tempranillo, actually not my favorite grape variety in the world. I like more delicate, medium-bodied red wines or even white wines. Tempranillos tend to be a little bit big, although I love Rioja. They sometimes can resemble Burgundy, especially old school Riojas. Let's move on to 3. 3 is also pretty big. Haven't I come across one with a lot of age? Just a touch of mushroom here. Black cherry, mocha, tobacco. Oh gosh, all 1 and 3 are very similar noses, except 3 is fruit on the back end. I would like a little bit longer finish. I think 1's a little bit better of a wine. I still think it's excellent. Here's the thing, when you're tasting all these high-end wines, they're real subtle nuances. That's why, especially when I put together these blind tastings of high-end wines, there's just subtle differences in scores. I don't think you're gonna go wrong with any of these wines. It's just, you notice the difference when you taste them next to each other. Wine number 4. Gosh, I thought the Riojas would be easy to pick out. Unless I have it, well, this is more tobacco, more cedary. The tobacco and the cedar notes come before the fruit, whereas the first three, the fruit came out more. The two had the VA a little bit, but still a lot of fruit. 4 is definitely more delicate than the first 3. I like it a lot. I think that it might be the Rioja. Tannins are really, the tannins kind of massage the palate a little bit. I think 4 is my favorite so far. Let's move on to 5. Number 5 smells like number 2 a little bit of VA. So it has a little bit of age, and it's a little bit floral. There's some complexities here. Earth, mineral, red plum, black cherry. I like number 5 a heck of a lot. That's really, you know, I still, maybe number 4 is the only one where I think maybe it's a Rioja. I can't really tell where the other ones are from. And that's sometimes the criticism, sometimes of Tempranillo. It's just big and it takes a lot of oak. So you do actually, it masks the terroir. 6. A weird mix of a bubblegum note that sometimes you get in young wines, yet it has some leatheriness of aged wines, so it's kind of a paradox. Some mocha type flavors along with the black cherry. Maybe this is the Rioja. 6 is definitely my style. I think it's the Rioja. I love the acidity on the back end. I love the length here. I think 4 and 6 are the Riojas. They just feel leaner. All the other ones felt like heavy cream, where this has felt just more like whole milk. That's the difference in mouthfeel. Number 1 and 3 I thought were very similar, fruity. I mean, this is really like young Napa CAB type flavors. I felt like 3 just had a little bit less fruit than 1. I still thought it was an excellent wine, 92 points. I think it's Toro or Ribera del Duero. Let's take a look here. I don't think it's Rioja. This is the Bardos. This is the Suprema Ribera del Duero, 2020. So it's a young wine. Young wine, 49 bucks. 18 months in new French oak. So this is a wine that's built to last. Ribera del Duero and Toro are on higher plateaus. I think they can go up to 900, 980 meters in elevation. Just kind of looks like a high desert, and it's super dry. Luckily, the Duero River is there for water. It's also known as the Douro in Portugal. Fruit, fruit, fruit. That's what showed up early on. So you gotta put that in the cellar and let it do its thing. This is one of the top wines from the estate. Beautiful label too, by the way. Number 2 and number 5 here have a little bit of volatile acidity, which is fine. They just stuck out. They're the ones that weren't all just fruit, fruit, fruit. Volatile acidity is all wine wants to turn to vinegar slightly. So when it's aged in the barrel, aged in the bottle, it starts to move that way. That's when you pick up a little bit of this. If it's not too much, it's not a fault. Actually adds some character to the wine. I liked it. Fans of maybe some old school Bordeaux, traditional Tuscan type wines are going to like that flavor, this balsamic note. I still think it was good. Number 2, it had some VA, but it was delicate. It had fruit, kind of like 1 and 3. But it was just a little more delicate. It was delicious. I gave it 93 points. I don't think this is Rioja, but let's take a look. This is Toro. This is the Matsu El Viejo 2020, 59 bucks from Toro. The Matsu labels are kind of cool because they have different pictures of people. The youngest wine coming from younger vines is a picture of like a young man. This is their more premium wine from old vines, so it has an old man here. Comes from wines that are over 100 years old. Matsu is the term to wait. I thought that was excellent. That's like a good blend between somebody that maybe likes kind of like Napa CAB type stuff, then mixed maybe with like a traditional Tuscan type wine. It was not too oaky. None of these wines were too oaky, which I really, really liked. Number 5 has VA also, but it was floral and earthy. Had the cherry notes, but has some subtle complexities. I also gave it 93 plus points. Let's take a look here. I want to see what it is. I really want to. This is, oh, I got a Rioja wrong. This is the Bodegas Faustino 1, 2011 Gran Reserva from Rioja. So top wine, 39 bucks for a Gran Reserva. I gave it 93 points. A little bit bigger than a Rioja, a little bit richer. 2011, oldest in the bunch, so it's going to have a little bit of VA, so definitely that's not a fault. This brand is readily available. You can get the Crianza, the Reserva Riojas at great price points. I think the Crianza may be under 15 bucks, depending on what market you're in. This is a fantastic way to experience a Gran Reserva. Rioja is cool because they sell Gran Reservas quite aged if you like the charm of aged wine, although it didn't taste too aged. Rioja is great for wine lovers because in the city of Haro in the north, there's a bunch of famous producers and you can just walk in as just an everyday consumer and taste a whole range of wines. Okay, 4 and 1 I have tied for 93 plus points. Let's go. I thought 4 was also Rioja because it was a little more delicate. It had like the tobacco, the cedar notes, they came forward. It was delicate on the palate, then the fruit came forward. That's why I thought it was Rioja. It was more my style of wine, 93 plus points. It is not Rioja. I'm getting things wrong. This is a beautiful wine. This is the Alma de Vino Old Vine Tempranillo Ribera del Duero 2014. This comes in at $35. Not a great vintage throughout Europe, but this is a fantastic wine. I'm surprised. 2014, I did not pick up VA. Tobacco, cedar, delicate, not too oaky. This is the type of Ribera del Duero that I really, really want to drink. And $35 is great. I actually know the woman who kind of produces this wine with some other people, April Cullum. Nice job. I stuck this in blind. It's a beautiful wine. Number one, I think, was the most Napa CAB. I mean, if you're a big fan of Napa CAB, just get this wine. Rich, mocha, cherry. There's wood, but not too much. I gave it 93 plus points. I thought it was an exceptional wine. This is the Coro Duero Las Parvas from Toro, 2017. This comes in at $50. I know it's not cheap. 93 plus points, but drinks like Napa Cabs that are like much more expensive, real heavy bottle. Not a super well-known producer. This is their top wine from old vines over 100 years old. Concentrated, 780 meters above in altitude. That's awesome. Just fantastic wine. Number 6 had the weird transition between bubblegum of new wine and then leather of old wine. It was leaner, it was earthy. I like the finish so much. I thought it was Rioja with number 6, and I think I only have one left. 94 points. 94 points. This is the Rioja Vega Gran Reserva 2017 from Rioja. This comes in at $35. Riojas, I tell you, are a steal. This is a big producer. A lot of producers in Rioja are a little bit bigger, so you can get wine at scale, make it more affordable. I thought this was an excellent buy. It shows again, when it comes to Tempranillo, I love Rioja the most. So tell me, do you like Tempranillo? Do you have any favorite producers? Any favorite regions between these three? Drop it in the comments below.